All right, traders, I'm officially back from Colombia. With that being said, I ended up having one of my best trading days of 2023, having 11 trades in total with 11 wins, 100% win rate, making over 5 figures. One of the best traders within Trader Society ended up making over $100,000 on Friday just trading the SPY, and today he made over $50,000. As a collective, as a whole, within Trader Society, just trading the SPY, we ended up having 55 members green and only 4 red. As a collective, we've easily made over $300,000 in profit today. With that being said, I am going to show you step by step the trading strategy that I ended up using today, which is one of my best trading strategies that I've been using over a decade that has changed my life and many members' lives within Trader Society, where you can buy put options at the low right when the stock is at the peak and short the stock, bet on it to go down right before it has a massive crash, meaning you can set the trend with this strategy. You will know exactly where the high of day is before the high of day is even there. And I'm going to show you how to capitalize on that by buying put options that are at the money strikes, selling into the dips as it's crashing, and then getting back in to follow the trend that you set. When it spikes back up to the previous support levels, you short them because they turn into lower highs and the trend turns bearish. I'm going to show you how to do this step by step. I'm telling you, if you take notes and utilize this strategy, you will get results. This trading strategy has changed my life and many members' lives within Trader Society, and I'm going to teach it to you step by step. So again, the beauty of the trading strategy is you get in at the exact peak, setting the trend right before it goes bearish, and then I'm going to show you how to capitalize on the trend that you ended up setting, right? So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to find a stock that gaps up, right? So first thing that I want you to write down is I want you to write down the name of the strategy: gap, close, reversal to fill the gap below. So write that down. That's the name of the strategy. Then from there, what are you going to want to do? You're going to want to find a stock that gaps up. So Will, what does it mean when a stock gaps up? And by the way, what you're looking at, this is like a 5-day chart of SPY. Each one of these candlesticks represents 30 minutes worth of price action. Trading the 30-minute chart will change your life. Now, with that being said, find a stock that gaps up. This white line represents the previous closing price. Today is Monday. This white line represents the previous closing price, which is Friday's closing price, $396.38. As you can see, the SPY opened up much higher than it previously closed, right? So you'll see this happen a lot where stocks, move during extended hours trading session, and they have some volume due to some sort of news or some sort of heavy volume coming in, right? And they'll either have a gap up or a gap down. And you can use this strategy both ways. I'm going to show you how to use it on the short side to buy put options at the low, to short the stock at the exact peak, and then I'll show you how to capitalize on the trend as well, right? Using 30-minute candles. So find a stock that gaps up. What does it mean when a stock gaps up? If it opens up higher than it previously closes. So this white line, this is the gap at 396.38. As you can see, the SPY opened up much higher than it previously closed. And this is what you want. You want a big gap up. The bigger the gap up, the better. If it keeps running up, the better. You want something that's overbought. You want something that's overextended. You want something that's at the top end of a recent resistance channel. Do you notice how the SPY has a lot of resistance at $401, at $402, at $401? Do you see that? So what is the SPY doing? It's gapping up, right? And it's hitting the top end of the resistance channel. That's what you want. Now, this is the second part of the strategy: gap, close, reversal. You want to find it. You want to find a gap that's waiting to fill above. So look at this right here. See how there's a lot of resistance on the SPY, a great area to short, right? Look at this. Right here on February 24th, the SPY ended up gapping down. It opened up lower than it previously closed. So guess what? All the people who bought calls, who ended up swing trading a day before, they became bag holders. Do you see that? They bought towards the top end of the channel right here. They held overnight and they became bag holders, right? So what you need to understand is there's now a gap that's waiting to fill above at $400.66. And this is where all the bag holders got created. This is where the right thing to do was to sell. It was to sell calls and buy puts, right? So when it goes back up to the previous closing price for the first time and it fills this gap, Once you see it react as a resistance level, it's reacting bearish, it's forming lower highs, it's cracking through, you're going to want to short the SPY and buy the put options. So remember, SPY gaps up, and what are you doing when it gaps up? You're looking for a gap that's waiting to fill above. Here's a gap that's waiting to fill above that's never been filled at $400.66. Is it towards major resistance? Is it towards major resistance? Yes, it is. Does it have big downside potential? Yes. Okay, then what's the third part of the strategy? Once it begins to form resistance at this gap and starts to react as a reversal, it's going to start to fill the gap that's waiting to fill below at 396.38. So don't you see the strategy is serving a purpose, right? So right here, we're towards the bottom of the channel. SPY gaps up towards the bottom of the channel. It fills the gap. Once the gap fills at $400.66 and it reacts as a resistance level, you short it, and then it starts to come back down to fill the gap that's waiting to fill below at 396.38. So let me know in the comments, does that make sense? Is this very clear? Is this simple? Let me know, right? So you're waiting for a stock to gap up, and you're waiting for it to fill a gap that's waiting to fill above that has not been filled yet. Is it towards the top of the resistance channel? Yes. Okay, so now how do we determine if it's actually bearish? In this strategy, I use the 1 minute and the 5 minute chart. That's what I use. You can also use the 30-minute chart to continue the trading strategy, but with this typical strategy, you're going to want to use the 1 minute and the 5 minute chart. So we knew in advance that the resistance level was right here, right? So we knew there was a lot of resistance on this SPY right here at $400 to $402. And we also knew there was a gap that was waiting to fill above at $400.66, meaning once that gap fills, that's where the new trend can be set, and that's where the SPY can potentially have a reversal, right? So we know all this in advance. So what we're doing is we're targeting the $400.66 gap level, this white line right here. We wait for it to react as a resistance level. And we use the 1 minute and 5 minute chart, and then I'm going to show you the 30-minute chart trading strategy on how you can capitalize off the trend as well. So the trend is set once $400.60, that gap is waiting to fill above, reacts as a resistance level. That is when the SPY will start to set the new trend. It will start to reverse, and it will start to crash. So right here, it breaks out as soon as it fills the gap, and it's turning it into support, and it breaks out. No reason to short, no reason for puts. When does it start to flip bearish? It starts to flip bearish when it turns support levels into resistance levels, and when it starts to crack through this line. That is when the new trend is going to be set, and that's when you're going to want to start buying put options. So every single oval that I draw is going to be confirmation to buy puts, and this is the 1 minute and 5 minute chart. Right here, this is a bearish trend reversal wick, and it's forming towards previous resistance. See how your previous support right here is now cracking through, and it's reacting as a resistance. Right here, it's cracking through. More confirmations to add. So with the 1 minute chart, these are your 2 entries for puts. Now, in terms of the 5 minute chart, these are your 2 entries for puts. Right here on the 5 minute chart, this is a very bearish wick, and it looks like it's about to crack through that gap level. So right here, when this 5 minute candle closes, you can scale in, and then once it's cracking and forming this bearish trend reversal candlestick, you can scale in. Here's more confirmations using the 5 minute chart. So we know there's some support right here. So this is where you sell, this is where you scale out, and then you wait for a re-entry. So you sell here at support, and then in terms of your re-entry, if it's turning this floor into a resistance level, see how the highs of these candles are towards the lows of these candles? It's turning previous support into resistance, Bearish wick right here, cracks through right here. These are all confirmations to get back in on puts. Using the 1 minute and 5 minute chart, that's what you're doing. Now, what I ended up doing was I ended up using the 30-minute chart, and this is how I capitalized off the 30-minute chart. Look at these patterns, and this is the beauty of being able to read the 30-minute chart. The 30-minute chart, trading SPY will change your life. These are where the vast majority of the trades that I ended up making today, capitalizing off of the gap close reversal. So SPY closed the gap. It was beginning to reverse. It was reacting bearish. And I'm going to show you how I capitalized off of this reversal by continuing to trade the trend. So take a look right here. What does the SPY do? The SPY gaps up. It's towards a recent resistance level that we're trading at today. Once it forms this first red candle, what happens after that? It drops for an hour and a half straight after that. You see that? So SPY gaps up. It forms a green trend reversal candlestick. The next candlestick is red and bearish. Once it closes red and bearish, what does it do? It drops for an hour and a half. Do you see that? Right? So look what happened. SPY forms this green candle right here. This looks like a bearish wick right at the gap, right? See how it's closing right at the gap? That's bearish. This is a bearish green wick, trend reversal green wick. And then what happens after that? It forms, again, a bearish candlestick. And then what happens after that? The SPY sells off after that first red bearish candlestick. See how the SPY continues to sell off after that red bearish candlestick, right? So do you see how history repeats itself? Do you see how when the SPY gaps up in the 30-minute chart, forms the first red candle, that is the beginning of a downtrend? Do you see how you can capitalize off of the continuation, right? So when I saw the SPY close this 30-minute bearish candlestick red, and as it was having a little spike here, I began to add into puts towards this 399.40 level. Do you see how that pattern repeats to an exact T? Look at this. You see how it spikes a little bit above the closing price of this candle right here? And you see how it spikes a little bit above the closing price of this candle right here after the first red candle. And then what does it do? It sells off hard. It sells off hard. And it continues to drop. And it continues to drop, right? So that's how I was able to capitalize off of the trend, by utilizing how it recently reacted when it gapped up in this pattern. It gapped up, it formed this green trend reversal candlestick, it gapped up, it formed this green trend reversal candlestick at the gap, and then it forms this super red bearish candlestick, then it forms this super red bearish candlestick. What happens after the first red bearish candlestick? It starts to drop, it starts to drop, it starts to fill the gap, it starts to fill the gap, right? So do you see that pattern? Very, very simple stuff, man. So, and you could see it even repeat in the day, and I took advantage of this as it repeated in the day. Right here, SPY's getting crushed, and then when it forms that red candle again towards resistance, what does it do? It starts to drop. When it forms that red candle towards resistance after the green candles, it starts to drop, right? When it forms that red candle after the green candle, it starts to drop. When it forms that red candle after the green candle, it starts to drop. So do you see these trends and these patterns that I'm capitalizing off of to ride this back down, to fill the gap below, using the 1 minute time frame, the 5 minute time frame, and of course the 30-minute patterns are golden, man. These 30-minute patterns are absolutely gold. People were wondering, Will, how did you buy calls at the exact low of day today against the supposed bearish trend right into the close? The reason why I was able to buy calls when this was at $396.90 is because I studied the trend. I said, okay, what is the trend? Well, as you can see right here, the SPY formed these 3 red bearish candlesticks. The SPY formed these 3 red bearish candlesticks. And then what did it start to do? It started to crash, but then it recovered green. See how it started to crash and recover green on the third one? So look at this. You have 3 red candlesticks, right? Very simple. 3 red candlesticks. On the third one, this is the third one, what did it do? It crashed and then it recovered. So if you bought the dip and you scalped it towards the lows and sold right before the 30-minute candle closed, you would have banked on calls. And then that history started to repeat itself. So I said, okay, what happens on the fourth candle? Oh, the fourth candle, it does the same thing. It sells off and it bottoms slightly under the previous 30-minute candle, and then it spikes back up. So look at this. It sells off under the previous 30-minute candle. It goes a little bit lower, and then it spikes back. History repeats itself. That's how I knew to buy calls into the close as well, because I studied this trend. Again, guys, this is very simple stuff. Look at this. You have 3 bearish red candlesticks. Look at what happens on the third red candle and the fourth one. Okay, so this is the third red candle right here. This is the third red candle here. What does it do? It drops and then it recovers. See how it recovers and almost goes green? So if you buy when it looks bearish and when it looks ugly, and then you hold it for a little bit, and then you sell into the close of the 30-minute candle, you bank. And the same thing happened right here on the 30-minute candle. So when I saw that happening, I said, okay, I'm going to play calls on the fourth 30-minute candle, because what happened on the fourth 30-minute candle? It did the same thing. It dropped, it cracked below this 30-minute candlestick, and then it recovered. Look what happened. It dropped, it cracked below this 30-minute candlestick, and then it recovered. Do you see how simple that is? I just taught you 2 trend trading strategies. The first strategy I taught you was the best one, the gap close reversal to fill the gap below strategy. And then the second strategy is using 30-minute candlesticks, studying how they react, how they repeat based off of short-term history. So that should make a lot of sense, and that should be very, very clear. Let me know in the comments if this is making sense, right? You're simply identifying patterns, and you want these patterns to be focused on calls when they're towards the low of day, when they're towards oversold points, towards the gap between the fill below here, and on puts when they're overbought, when they're extended, when they're at resistance towards the gap right here, right? And you want to focus on top end of channels for puts and low end of channels for calls. We all knew towards the previous closing price was a great entry for calls, and I played it as a partial gap close reversal right into the close on this dip when it was at 396.90 because of the 30-minute pattern. You had 3 red bearish candlesticks, 3 red bearish candlesticks. It closes the 30-minute, almost green. It reacts bullish. If you bought low, you would have banked and sold. Reacts bullish. If you would have bought low, you would have banked and sold. On the fourth one, it drops a little bit under the previous 30-minute candle. On the fourth one, it drops below the previous 30-minute candle, and then it recovers. This is so simple. I am telling you this, man. If you choose to dedicate your life to trading SPY, you will get the best results in this game, man. Last week, I was a little bit off, vacation and just so much going on, different environments, stuff like that. But it was also because I started trading stocks. I didn't like how SPY was trading on certain days last week. I was a little bit off track and I started trading stocks, and I did not do well this week. But I've already recouped all the losses that I had this week with this one great green day trading the SPY. I'm telling you, man, there is nothing better than trading SPY. This is what all of the rich people are doing. This is where all the liquidity and wealth is. This is where the thin spreads are. And you can do anything it is that you want to do with options trading strategies on the SPY. It has the liquidity. We have people putting in $200,000 into a 5-minute scalp on a 7-day expiration, getting in and out for a 5% return. That's $10,000 within minutes. Every single day, there's millions of dollars in transactions, being distributed just between the SPY floor within Trader Society. Imagine how much money is being distributed between the actual SPY and the actual option chain, and it just keeps on getting bigger. People are starting to wake up, and they're starting to realize how lucrative, how predictable, and how simple trading the SPY and mastering it can actually be. If you put all of your time and energy into mastering one simple strategy with one stock, you will trade that stock better than anybody else, because you are the one who's mastering and dedicating all your time and energy to that one single stock. But if you bounce around with different stocks and you bounce around with different trading strategies, you will not get results. This game is going to reward the one who can consistently trade within their niche the best. Like I said, I took a lot of people, and I used to be one of them, who traded small caps. They were doing very, very well, making $500 to $2,000 a day. Now they're trading SPY, and the best traders within here are making tens of thousands of dollars now every single day. It wasn't too long ago, just a little bit over a year and a half, where they were trading small caps, making $500 here, $2,000 here, $3,000 here. Now they're trading SPY. They scaled it. They compound the count. They pay themselves out every single week. Now they're making multi-5 figures every single day. We have 4 people in the chat doing that here. If you want to change your life, I would encourage you to join Traders Society. It is the first link down below in the description. You have access to the live chat room. You have access to the moderators and to the connections and the networking opportunities of the people who are consistently making 5 figures daily. You will have access to the connections, the networking opportunities, the video lesson library that is going to teach you my decades worth of trading experience on how you can master the SPY, on how you can master small cap stocks, and how you can master trading stocks in general. Like I said, man, we are a group that is devoted and dedicated to trading the SPY, because this is where true wealth is created, and not only because of the liquidity and the thin spreads, but we find it to be extremely predictable in this game to trade. And we see the patterns very, very clearly, and we love trading the SPY. We understand how it moves, and we love capitalizing off of its movements, right? There were so many clear confirmations to play puts and to also play calls into the close, and people didn't see it because they don't know how to capture 30-minute patterns. They don't know how to see it with the third eye on how we see it. And I'm going to give you that third eye. If you're looking to blindly follow my alerts, this is not the program for you. But if you want to actually trade the best setups at the best prices, the opportunity is the first link down below in the description. It's a one-time fee, and you get lifetime access, right? And the price will be going up. End of March, we're going to be raising the price. With that being said, I would encourage you to join Trader Society. You get access to the chat room, the live trading sessions, live trading voice, live trading streams, all of my trade alerts in real time. You get access to the video lesson library. You get access to the networking opportunity. There's so much more to it. If you want to learn and read more about it, it is the first link down below in the description. Right now is the best time to join, and is the best time to start, because I'm telling you, this group is solely dedicated to mastering the SPY. And if you are surrounded by people who are serious about making money, who are taking this seriously, devoting their lives to this, who have left their jobs because they've gotten success within the market, now they're trading full time. If you are serious about mastering that one thing, I'm telling you, you're going to get results. If you're surrounded by a bunch of people who are making money, and you're staying disciplined, and you're trading the best sets, the best prices, and you're not blindly following people, and you understand how the trading strategy works, you are going to get results. This is all we do. We don't bullshit here. We just trade SPY. And what I'm telling you is, man, if you want to trade SPY and if you want to master it, Surrounding yourself with that group, with that environment, with that education, with those people who are dedicated to just mastering the SPY, you are going to get results. You're just bound to get results. The amount of testimonials, the amount of people that who've even made back much more than the cost of the program before they even join it just by utilizing these YouTube videos, that's nearly every single person within this program. We just surpassed over 1,000, almost 1,200 members, and we are growing at the speed of light. And I would really encourage you to join now because, like I said, the price is going to be going up end of March, right? So the opportunity is there. It's the first link down below in the description. If you are serious about taking your trading to the next level and mastering the SPY, because that's who we're looking to attract. We're looking to attract self-sufficient traders who want to learn how to grow their accounts, who want to become consistent, who want to master that one thing, not bounce around with different stocks, different strategies. We're not looking for that. We're not looking for people who want to blindly follow alerts. I want to be surrounded by competent individuals. I want to be surrounded by self-sufficient individuals. I want to be surrounded by individuals who are focused on mastering one simple trading strategy with SPY, because SPY is predictable. SPY has the liquidity. All the wealth is made within SPY with the options trading. And I found it to be extremely predictable and extremely accurate. And this is what I love doing personally. I'm telling you, if you start bouncing around with stocks and different trading strategies, you will get back to profits. You will not do well. Just think about it, man. You have 100 units of energy. If you put all 100 units of energy into one thing, it's going to be a big spike and you're going to get the best results. But if you divide those 100 units of energy by 10 and put it into 10 different things, it's just going to be mediocre results for 10 different things. But if you put all of your energy and time into one simple thing, as time goes on, you're only going to get better. And as you get better and as you compound your account, your life can change from a couple $1,000s to over 6 figures in one single year. And then once you hit that 6-figure mark, I'm telling you, I've already seen it with one member, 6 figures to $1 million can happen within one single year. It can happen very, very quickly if you are disciplined, if you are consistent, if you are compounding your account, and if you are continuing to get better in doing what you're supposed to do, right? So those are the trading strategies. That's my thoughts. That's my analysis on the SPY. If you utilize what I taught you, you should continue to get results and just wait for the patterns. Now, Will, what are your thoughts on the SPY heading into tomorrow? So these are my thoughts, and this is where we're currently at, and this is what I need you to be aware of. So in terms of the SPY, there's going to be some new key levels. So what you need to understand is we close this gap at the high end of the resistance and we start to reverse and we start to sell off. It's having a gap close reversal, which is super bearish. And as you could see last time, when it gapped up like it did today, it filled the gap and it went even lower. So it hasn't even filled the gap yet and it hasn't even went lower yet if that history repeats itself, right? So this is very bearish for the short term, for the micro. What you need to understand is this is your make it or break it zone. 397.73, if that reacts as a resistance, then it's going to go super bearish. If you see 398 to 397.73 reacts as a resistance, you're going to want to scalp puts, ride it to 396.38, scale out and sell. They're going to try to pull this under 396.38 first if it hits, but eventually they're going to try to flip it back and turn it into support. So that's the most likely outcome, right? The most likable outcome is if 398 reacts as a resistance, we fill the gap. If we fill the gap, they're going to try to crack it like it cracked here. Then at some point, when it breaks above the gap, when it breaks above 396.38 and reacts as a support level, breaks above, reacts as support, that's when the bulls are going to start to flip the trend and go bullish. So what you need to understand is SPY gapped up, it filled the gap, it's reversing, it's starting to fill the gap from 396.38. Last time it filled the gap, it went even a little bit lower. Then when it turns the gap into support, and then when it turns 396.38 to a support, it goes bullish. So heading into tomorrow, this is my mindset. 397.73, 398. If it reacts bearish as a resistance, I short the SPY. I look to scale out at 396.38. If it cracks through, I don't do anything. Once it reacts as a support level, 396.38, once it breaks out, reacts to support, then I scalp the calls and I sell at 397.73. Those are my thoughts. That's my analysis on calls and puts. And what you need to understand is if we break above 398 and hold, then we go back to 400. If 398 reacts as a resistance, we're going to go to 396.38 and it's going to try to drop it first. Don't chase puts, just sell puts at the previous closing price. If you play it at 398, then just wait for the previous closing price to react to support. If it reacts to support, then you're going to want to scalp the calls for a quick win to 398. That's my thoughts. That's my analysis. The two levels that I'm targeting personally are going to be 397.73 and 396.38, right? So I'm just looking at the history, man. SPY gapped up. It filled the gap. It went a little bit lower. It's trying to fill the gap, and it will try to go lower. And it's already having a bearish gap close reversal. So that's why I'm swaying away from calls, and I'm waiting for calls until 396.38 is confirmed support. Initially, if that trend repeats itself, it's going to try to go a little bit under first before trying to reverse. So that's where we're at. That's what I need you to understand. And it's going to be put focused. If 398 reacts as a resistance level for a quick scalp, then we wait. It's going to try to crack at first. And if it does crack and you want to do some lotto YOLO calls but not the best trading strategy, look for this. We're going to try to bounce at 395. If we crack 396.38, it's going to try to bounce at 395 to 394.50. That zone we try to bounce, and then they're going to try to reverse it. And then if 396.38 into the close reacts to support, then they're going to try to skyrocket. So utilize this recent trend on the SPY. And if you see trends repeat itself on recent, you should become confident, right? I became very confident in my puts. When this red candlestick closed bearish, I became very confident as SPY was spiking right here on this 30-minute candle in puts because of the trend. It gapped up, it filled the gap, started to reverse, that's bearish. First red candlestick, it started to reverse. First red candlestick, it started to reverse. What happens after the first red candlestick closes? It has a small little spike above the previous closing 30-minute candle, and then it sells off. It has a small little spike above the previous closing 30-minute candle, and then it sells off. Oh, look at this other trend. Look at this other pattern that I found. 3 red bearish candlesticks. 3 red bearish candlesticks. What happens on the third bearish candlestick? On the third bearish candlestick, it sells off, but then it closes strong towards the opening of the, it closes strong, right? So if you bought the dip towards the lows, you banked. What happens on the fourth candlestick? It sold off and it went lower than the third one. And if you bought when it went lower than the third one, it closed strong, you would have banked. Guess who took advantage of both of those trends? I did. That's how I'm able to trade so successfully. I capture patterns with the 30-minute chart. I use the gap close reversal strategy. I use the gap fill strategy. If you know what to look for and you wait for the trends and patterns to develop and you catch them in real time, you will consistently make money within this market. But you have to wait for something to actually develop. And you have to wait for stocks to hit the key levels, to hit the gaps, to hit the lower end of the channel, to hit the higher end of the channel. Wait for the patterns and trends to develop. That's how I was able to know, because I know how the trend works. I know how history tends to repeat itself. If you want to be a part of Trader Society, this is the best time to join. And I'm telling you guys, we're raising the price end of March. I would encourage you to join right now. With that being said, I will see you guys tomorrow live at Market Open.